Welcome. You've tuned in to Business Saturday on CNBC TV 18, and I am Nithya Balakrishnan. Straight then to the top headlines that we've been tracking. And right on top is the story of the hour. Jerome Powell, the chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve, has pledged that the central bank will be watching how the economy performs this year and will adjust policy should growth slow unexpectedly. He also adds, along with his immediate predecessors, Janet Yellen and Ben Bernanke, was speaking at the American Economic Association's annual meeting in Atlanta. Now, Powell said that the U.S. economy was in fine fettle, as indicated by jobs data, but the Fed might reconsider further rate hikes if growth slows down. That's not all. Powell also indicated that the Fed would not hesitate to tweak their balance sheet reduction plans if it was causing problems. Now, lastly, Powell said that he would not resign from his post even if President Donald Trump asked him to.
Muted inflation readings that we've seen coming in. We will be patient as we watch to see how the economy evolves. But we're always prepared to shift the stance of policy and to shift it significantly if necessary in order to promote our statutory goals of maximum employment and stable prices.
So let me talk about the balance sheet. Some years ago, we decided that rate policy was going to be the active policy tool, and that the balance sheet would be allowed to shrink gradually and predictably in the background. And it was supposed to be about as interesting as watching paint dry in Janet's famous locution. So, and that division of labor has served us well, and we think has served the economy well. And so we also said at the very beginning, I think in our original, certainly the first policy normalization plans that I was involved in 2014, we said that we would be prepared to adjust our normalization plans as appropriate to achieve our goals. So if we ever came to the conclusion that any aspect of our normalization plans was somehow interfering with our achievement of our statutory goals, we wouldn't hesitate to change it.
Have you received anything direct from the White House about unhappiness with the path of rates or the discussion of any change in your job?
No, I've not. I have not. I have no news for you on that.
There's also been discussion of a face-to-face meeting between you and the president. If invited, would you accept that kind of invitation if it were made?
So again, I have no news on that. Nothing's been scheduled. I would say that meetings between presidents and Fed chairs do happen, and they've happened. I think I can't think of any Fed chairs who didn't eventually meet with the president. But again, nothing has been scheduled, and I don't really have anything to report on that.
If the president asked you to resign, would you do it?
No.
Keeping with headlines from the U.S., let's look at the action from Wall Street then. It rallied yesterday after two positive developments. Now, the Dow jumped about 700 points, while NASDAQ and S&P 500 also ended the day with gains of over 4% and 3% each. Now, this after the U.S. Labor Department released the jobs data. Now, as per the data, the economy added 312,000 jobs in the month of December, as against the expectation of 176,000 jobs. Now, another important development was the
It was yet another wide-ranging marathon news conference by President Trump. You got a sense there of how interconnected all of these issues are for him. Border security, the government funding fight, immigration, trade, all of them sort of wrapped up together in this one news conference. I think one of the most important things is what you highlighted, is that he confirmed that this shutdown could last for years. He's prepared for that to take place. Here's what he said.
You said in the meeting, this is him quoting you, I just want to check, that the shutdown could go on for months or even a year or longer. Did you say that? And
I did.
Is that your assessment of where we are?
Absolutely, I said that. I don't think it will, but I am prepared, and I think I can speak for Republicans in the House and Republicans in the Senate. They feel very strongly about having a safe country, having a border that makes sense.
Guys, there has been so much back and forth in this shutdown fight that I want to point out that the steel slats that the president spoke about during that news conference, those would actually be allowed under the language that was originally passed by the Senate, under the language that was passed by the House. The language in the text of the bills prohibits concrete barriers. The president now talking about steel slats, steel barriers as stronger than concrete ones. And that's really important because I think that what you're talking about here now is not just what does the structure look like, but this highlights the fact that this is a fundamental ideological disagreement between Republicans, Trump Republicans, and between Democrats. And because this is now a philosophical fight, that is why both sides are so hunkered down, and that is why it has been so difficult for them to reach any type of resolution, guys.